Hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Inside Spurs channel. Happy Wednesday morning. Hope you're well. Hope you're looking after yourself on this alright looking day. I just looked at the window. It's not amazing, not great. Got a really actually quite interesting video to talk about, and it's around Spurs being in the mix for a couple of Sporting Lisbon stars, as well as one of our players potentially being in the mix for Sporting Lisbon to go the other way. So plenty to decipher, some quotes, some reports, lots to get into. And I'm not going to dilly-dally. I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to talk first and foremost about the two that can come our way, not the one that goes their way. Let's talk about us first. So this came from Sport Witness, and I think it was also kind of reported a little bit in Portugal as well, that obviously I talked about in the previous video, Spurs having an interest or sort of scouting Marcus Edwards and Pedro Gonçalves, or Pedro Gonçalves, as I like to call him from FIFA times. Sport Witness put out that Marcus Edwards and Pedro Gonçalves, Tottenham are in the mix to sign both of them, which shocked me. I'm even reading it now, still shocks me a little bit. Spurs can still one relatively easy, second a little bit more difficult, which I think anyone here who can sit down and put their caps on, their thinking caps, can understand that the relatively easy one would be Marcus Edwards, the more difficult one would be Pedro Gonçalves. Pedro Gonçalves being, I would say, the more important of the two. He's the better player of the two, right? You know, he is one of Sporting Lisbon's best players. You know, people think of Ignacio and so forth, but Gonçalves has been one of their main players for a while. The fact that, the reason why, it's an easier deal for Marcus Edwards. Well, first and foremost, he is really wanting to go play in the Premier League. You stated it multiple times before, but not only that, Spurs do have that release clause. Now, I'm going to hold my hand up, and I have said it's 25%. It's actually 35%. So when I was talking about his 60 million euros, and that was 15 million euros with the 25%, it's actually now 21 million euros. And if they were to get his contract signed, and they want to increase his release clause from 60 to 80 million euros, it would then turn into 28 million euros. So quite a large chunk of money, 28 million euros. And that's the way I would actually probably put it, not only to myself, but to you. Would you sign, let's think of 60 million euros, because that's what it is right now. Would you take 21 million euros for him to be sold to a Premier League rival? Or would you spend, say, 35 million euros, nearly 40 million euros for you to have him? I'm really sitting on the fence on this one, because I really don't know. Because obviously I like the idea of him getting sold, us having the money, and us, reinvesting into, something a bit more of a project, or, what have you, or bringing in a couple of youngsters and building them up. And then a part of me goes, I feel like he's still young. He's ready to still be coached up. He can develop up. People talk about his attitude as well. And I do get that his attitude maybe wasn't the best when he was at Spurs, when he was a youngster. Your attitude has to be fairly good for you to go to a not a lower tier, but you know what I mean? Like a not as great club in Portugal, to build yourself up into one of the best clubs in Portugal. And then in turn have interest from clubs around the world to bring you to a top 5 league. Your attitude has to have changed and has to be fairly decent in that regard. When you look at their seasons, let me start on Pedro Gonçalves, because I think that's the really exciting one. 17 games played, 9 goal contributions, 5 goals, 4 assists. It's a really, really decent season, I can't lie. I wouldn't say that I was expecting it or not expecting it. I just wasn't sure what to expect. And when you're getting, goal contribution in less than every 1 in 2 games, as a winger or attacking midfielder, that is still very, very good. He is only 25. He's still, I don't want to say great age. It's not soccer AM, but, he's still quite young in terms of the football world. He hasn't hit his prime yet. When you look at Marcus Edwards is 24, so a little bit younger. I know he does turn 25 next month, okay? But he's 24, in all competitions this season. He's played 16 times and has got 7 goal contributions, 3 goals, 4 assists. So, fairly equal in that regard. I would say, look, if I had to pick one, it would be Pedro Gonçalves personally. But, when we're talking about knocking off 21 million euros off of 60 million release clause, 16 million euro release clause, sorry, you're talking less than 40 million euros. That's where I'm intrigued by that, because I've been looking at like a Santi Jimenez that I talked about yesterday. I talk about, Nico Williams and things like that. Let's put Marcus Edwards or Concave in this. 40 million euros. We talk about Santi Jimenez being worth 45 million euros. So it can be done. But would Richarlison being sold and Edwards coming in be an upgrade? I can see Edwards working, not say he can't, because he is a very good player. I just think that Santi Jimenez is what we really, truly need, because, Son is not getting any younger. He does pick up injuries. He's been injured this season even. He's not been able to play 90 minutes all that often, there was weeks where he'd only play 70 minutes. If we had a proper true striker in behind him, learning from him, like a Santi Jimenez, that's a really great position to be in. He might be done playing left wing. There might be times where he can still play left wing, because at the end of the day, that's where he's naturally gifted at, is a left wing position. But having a Son feeding another striker, or vice versa, a really great world class left winger feeding Sonny, it's only good things. So yeah, definitely a little bit on there. And then just sort of talk about the one going the other way. Obviously, I think you can kind of guess who it would be. It's Eric Dier. He talked, and these are quotes from himself. He talked about basically, would he ever potentially return to Sporting Lisbon once his contract ended at Spurs? He said, I don't know. In football, you never know what will happen from one day to the next. Sporting is my club, my home. It's my only club where I spent 12 years from 8 to 20. It will always be my home. I think Sporting Lisbon taken back. I think he would go back, but this is at the end of his contract, so I feel like he's still holding out hope for maybe either to lock down a Spurs place, which God help us, or it's another move for another 6 months. And I still think he's maybe holding out hope that a Bayern might come back in and say, look, a loan deal for 6 months, you fancy coming here for a bit. If that works out, then he gets himself a 2-3 year deal there, maybe. But there is that opportunity, and that is that option for Sporting Lisbon, and that's something that we need to not to be in a rude way, but hold out hope on, because I think in the next, we're November 15th, for the next 6 weeks, maybe even through January, so let's call it 2.5 months. It's time for players like Ashley Phillips to develop into a centre half that can play at Spurs first team, not youth team. And if we can do that, and you can bring in, and I still think they'll bring in Sebastian Cáceres, or they'll bring in a cheap defender just to tie us over maybe to the end of the season, or a guy on loan maybe, I don't know. But if you can free up that spot, and if Bayern are coming in, I'd be saying to Eric Dier, look, go to Bayern, you win yourself the Bundesliga, get yourself a trophy. You never know what will happen in the Champions League. You got Kane who's scoring 1 million goals every game. For us, we could use that centre half position. I just think it's a luxury to have that position then filled with a talent or another young player that we can develop. Mickey Van de Ven's still very young. He's still developing. He will only get better. Still got Romero there, Phillips or Dorrington. But if you can have one more, it's a good position to be in. But anyway, guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you did enjoy it. Drop a like on the video if you did. Hit me in the comment section below. Look, you got the Marcus Edwards situation. You got the Pedro Gonçalves situation. What do you think? Let me know about that. Obviously, Dier to potentially Lisbon, either January maybe, or at the end of his contract. Happy about that? And tell me what you think. And also subscribe to the channel if you're new, and hit the bell notification for more. But anyway, guys, that's the end of the video, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Take care, guys.